You might not know it, but you're ready for me to actually throw the big stuff at you. For example, a full-blown application or something like that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm gonna use a very basic example, and that's gonna be creating a blog. And I'm just using a blog because everybody knows what a blog is and how it works. So it's just gonna be very basic. A user visits a page, he sees some blog posts with the dates and the title and all of that. And an administrator can also create, delete, or stuff like that. Okay, so how do we work on this? How do we make it come to life? We're going to be using that idea of test-driven development because we want to think about how our code works before we write the code, right? So what is the first test, or what is the first feature we want to build? Do we start with authentication? Do we start with creating posts? Do we start with deleting posts? Do we start with returning views? What do we actually start with? Now, the first rule from my experience that we have to take care of is actually making sure we start with a simple feature test. A feature test that is going to guide us to how our application wants to work for the user rather than for us, okay? Because remember, unit test is actually for us because we want to check if our classes and methods work perfectly. But then feature test is for us, yeah, but then it somehow has to do with how the user interacts with the application. So the basic rule of thumb is write a feature test first, and then in writing the feature test, in case you have some methods to test, write unit tests to test those features, right? So for example, for a blog, what is the very first feature we would want to build? Creating a blog post, but then that's not the essential of actually creating a blog. So if we check out a blog, the main thing in a blog is viewing a post, and that's the core of a blog. Now, creating posts, we could do creating posts in any manner. For example, a user can just go to the database and insert a post, or do whatever he likes, or pass an array from the controller just to display posts. So that's not really the core of our application. So the basic rule of thumb is the core of your application should be where you start. So if you're building maybe a school learning management system, and the first thing is for us to be able to view students, or that's the main purpose, and create that feature first. Authentication will come in later. That's because you want a way for people to be able to create posts, and it can come in later, right? So we're going to be using this idea of test-driven development to actually create a blog post. So from what we've talked about, what is the first test we're going to be creating? We're going to be making sure that a user can view a blog post, right? So let's go ahead and create a test for that. PHP artisan make test, view a blog post, test created for us. Therefore, if we head over to our feature directory, sure enough, we have that test. I'll clear the boilerplate, and we're gonna write our own function. Public function test can view a blog post. So a user should be able to view a blog post, right? So it's just gonna have literally exactly the same idea like we had with our about page. So first of all, we need to visit that route, a route where we want our users to view all blog posts. And then we're going to assert that we have a status of 200, and we're going to assert that the data on that page is actually the data that we want to see. Okay, there are actually 3 steps involved in every test, and some tests might actually not have these steps, but then basically every test you're gonna see is gonna have these steps. And the first one is gonna be arrangement step, which is the step in which you prepare your database, or you prepare stuff that have to be taken care of before you run your test. And then we also have the action step, which is going to be taking care of the necessary action that we are trying to perform to test functionality. And then we're going to have the assert step. So if you take a look at our about page, we actually didn't have any arrangement step because we didn't arrange anything. We just went ahead and made an action. And after the action, we had our asserts. And notice how I put a space right here just to demonstrate that this is a different step from this one. So this is the action step, and this is the assertion step. So for our test, we're going to be having all 3 steps, and we're going to start with the arrangement step, and then we're going to go to the action step, and then we're going to go to the assertion step. So for the arrangement step, what do we want to arrange? The first thing is, we actually want to be able to have some posts, right? A user cannot view a post that does not exist. So in our arrangement step, we are going to create a post, save it to the database. For our action step, we are going to navigate to a route that we want to view all the posts on. And then for our assert step, we're going to assert that the status is 200, which means the page exists, and also assert that the title or the body or the content or the created ad for the particular post is actually on that page. So let's go ahead and take care of this in the very next video.